Sakuigar Vode, and welcome to TapCap Chats. I'm here with Captain, and we are going to be discussing the Ahsoka trailer.
Hey guys,
How you doing, Cap?
it's been a long week.
Yeah, we just got off the Mandalorian episode 6, and it's been a doozy of a week. So let's see if there's any improvement on the Ahsoka trailer. All right, so just general thoughts after watching it. What do you think?
I'm not really excited, to be honest.
Interesting. I was not expecting that.
I'm very critical of... Well, ever since the sequels, I've learned to actually, look at a movie and say, all right, am I enjoying this because of X, Y, Z, right?
Yeah.
I find myself being more critical of movies, but at the same time, I've learned why do I enjoy certain movies and why do I not enjoy certain movies? And am I being blinded by nostalgia? And can I put that aside and judge a movie fairly for what it is? So in that case, thanks Disney, you made me a better critique of movies, I guess. Which, this is why I, not to go too much on a tangent, why I love Top Gun Maverick. Good movies like that just make me enjoy them all the more now. So when this trailer dropped, Ahsoka's not my favorite character. I'll be real with you on that. That said, that doesn't mean I dislike her as a character. I've enjoyed Ahsoka for what she is. I liked her as Fulcrum in the Star Wars Rebels TV show. And this is coming from someone who really did not like the first few seasons of Rebels. I actually didn't care to watch Rebels until they reintroduced Rex and I forgot the other two that came with him.
Wolf and the Clone Commando guy, Gregor,
yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Gregor, yes. When that trailer came out and I heard those voices, I gotta watch the show. That was literally me. And I will say there are elements of Rebels that I enjoy. I enjoyed Fulcrum. And is it Callus?
Callus, yeah.
Yes, I really enjoyed those aspects of the TV show, I must admit. But Ezra was not one of them. and actually, most of the protagonists I really didn't care for. To now, what seems to be a Rebels movie in full form with the main cast from the show, I'm just once again going, yeah, but I don't care about these people. What I do care about is I do care a little bit for Ahsoka. And I definitely care for Thrawn.
Yeah.
Because Thrawn was another reason to actually watch the Rebels TV show and actually gave me a reason to want to watch it. So,
yeah. But why do you like Thrawn? The only concept of Thrawn you know is from Rebels, is it not?
Well, no. My first exposure to Thrawn was actually in the game Star Wars Empire of War.
Okay.
He was in the DLC. And that was my first exposure to him. I was like, and what stood out to me is that he was a non-human fleet admiral. He was a Grand Admiral.
He's the only one.
Right. And that's obviously led me to asking questions about him. And that's when I was like, okay, this guy is a master strategist. And as somebody who likes RTS games, Thrawn is kind of like the expert be-all of like an RTS in a way. Mm-hmm. And as a engineer and analytical person, I enjoy those kind of things too. I like how he, especially in the show, he took a very methodical way of learning your opponent and anticipating their moves based off everything he knew about them. He was like, if I do this move, they'll probably do this move, so I'm going to have a counter move, and I'm going to have a counter to the counter, and blah, 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 blah. And the times that I've occasionally will play PvP RTS games, it's only with my friends because I don't care to do online, and I've kind of done the same thing. I exploit what I know about my friends to do the same thing. So to know that there is a Star Wars equivalent made me a bit of a fan as a result. So he's actually a character that I quite highly admire for his practicality and how smart and intelligent that he is. In the Rebels TV show, he seems to be the creator of the TIE Defender, which is one of my favorite Imperial fighters, or Imperial ships, I should say, in general. I don't know if that's how that meshes with old legends, but at least in the Disney canon, that seems to be a thing.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure about the TIE Defender connection in Legends.
Yeah,
but there's a lot to him that I'll explain to you here just in a bit.
But at least I would say that, at least in the Disney canon, it doesn't seem too out of place for me. He seems the kind of person that would put quality over quantity. And he's known to be like, I'm not a fan of capital ships. They're very inflexible and a bunch of other things. He was very much utilizing what are those gravity well generator ships? The
interdictors.
Thank you. Yep. I'm having brain farts right now. No, I'm sorry. Okay. But yes, the interdictors, favorite tactics of mine in the game. I used them heavily, and so does he. And I like how, at least in the old lore, I'm not sure, and I think they kind of do this in Disney lore a little bit too. His weakness has always been the Force, because it's a variable that you can't account for. Yep. And they did this in the show. He had the rebels dead to rights until a Force storm came in and basically allowed the rebels to escape. So like the only thing that can beat Thrawn is basically the Force. And I actually kind of like that, because it's a thing that makes tangible sense to me, because it's a thing that you can't predict, right? It's almost like, can you predict nature? Well, we can predict nature to a point, right? We can't predict tornadoes, but we can predict, like, hey, in the next several days, you're going to have a thunderstorm. We get general things. So I like that part of Thrawn. Like, that's his Achilles heel. I've really enjoyed him for that.
That leads me a little bit into my thoughts on this trailer and what I think they're doing and how it makes me extremely angry. So just to give you some perspective where I'm coming from.
In context for you.
Right, because it's very important where I'm coming from for this. You've never read the Heir to the Empire of the Throne trilogy, I assume?
I've never read a Star Wars book in my life.
Okay, that's unfortunate. You should change that. But just to give you context.
I'm too busy reading technical documents for airplanes. You get home and you're like, I really don't want to read a book. You know?
I get it, but hopefully sometime you will. But
well, if you give me an audiobook, that would be different.
They're on Audible, so for sure.
Send me links.
I will, and you might be able to find it on YouTube. I'll give you a link. Anyway, what they're doing here and what they kind of did in Rebels, they're kind of trying to make his timeline seem it's happening. He's kind of in places, but they're different places. I'm not doing very good at explaining this, but so for example, in Rebels, he's working for the Empire and stuff, but at the end he gets shot out into who knows
him where. And Ezra disappeared for like the space whales.
Right. Well, in Legends, what happens with him, and the reason why he's not in most of the Galactic Civil War, is that the Palpatine purposefully assigned him to the unknown regions, and that's where his planet is. There's parts of the unknown regions that are available to be, like Scylla, where the Chiss are from.
I remember now, yeah, because
is in the unknown regions. But Palpatine purposefully assigns him out there as a bastion against, like, he forms a defense for the Yuuzhan Vong, because by then Palpatine knows of them and their potential invasion of the galaxy, and so he's already putting failsafes out in the unknown regions.
Let me put one of my best strategists on near the fronts where he could be the most of use.
Exactly. And it was also a way to keep him away from the other Moffs, because they didn't like him and because he was an alien. But he also respected Thrawn, and he had him out there where he was best. He knew the space, he knew the planets, he knew the systems, all that stuff out there as like a defense against the Yuuzhan Vong. Well, now in Disney canon, there is no Yuuzhan Vong, so the reason why he's not in the Galactic Civil War is because, well, he's off nowhere, who knows where. That's right.
He got space whaled somewhere.
Exactly. So now we're coming back to after all that, and this is the prime time. Not exactly. I guess it's like 5 years after Return of the Jedi is whenever the Empire takes place, if I remember correctly, in Legends, where he comes back from the unknown regions as basically the heir of the Empire. There was like fractured factions and warlords, just like we see in Mandalorian, but he's the one that comes in and kind of groups them together, and he takes control of the Katana fleet, which is this big ordeal. It's a bunch of Clone Wars era dreadnoughts, and attacks Coruscant. There's this big battle, and I'm skipping a lot of stuff, but
Is this Legends?
this is Legends.
Okay.
And there's this whole thing with him going to Wayland and finding the Emperor's vault there, and there's a cloned Jedi of Jorah Sabaoth that he's actually ran into the original Jorah Sabaoth in the Outbound Flight book, and that was during the Clone Wars, kind of pre-Clone Wars era stuff. I think actually it was during the Clone Wars. I can't remember. I've never read the book, but I know the lore.
Mm-hmm.
But it is one of them I want to read. But anyway, so what's happening here is that the same kind of elements are happening. Ahsoka even says heir to the Empire in the freaking trailer, and it made me want to throw up. Because what they're doing is they're basically taking the same elements from Heir to the Empire, having Thrawn come back from the unknown regions or wherever he was as this Imperial leader, and having these dark Jedi that is probably a version of Jorah Sabaoth, which is this older Jedi guy, fallen Jedi dude, to be like one of his agents, and he controls him. We don't know how he controls him in this show, but in Legends he controls the clone of Jorah Sabaoth as Ysalamari. He has a Ysalamari wrapped around his neck as like a pet around Thrawn's neck
to help protect him from the Force, right?
It's like a Force barrier, so Jorah Sabaoth can't touch him, so he does what he says.
Those creatures are in the Empire War game, and that was another thing that I got to learn from the game.
Yep. So what's happening here, everything I'm seeing is basically Dave Filoni ripping Heir to the Empire elements and shoving his BS characters into it, and it just makes me sick. Because he's basically fan fictioning his own version of Heir to the Empire, and I'm totally done with it. I'm so
well. I mean, to be fair, I don't think he's allowed to remake what's in Legends 100% because if he did, they wouldn't have made it Legends, right?
Well, exactly. But that's the problem, is that they are not doing anything new. They're taking the exact same plot points, the exact same elements from Legends. The whole idea of him coming back from the unknown regions, the whole idea of him having a dark acolyte servant, all this stuff, and shoving his own characters into that story.
The biggest underlying issue for me is that from talking to people that know about Thrawn and stuff, because I have actually know a friend that's a big Thrawn fan, and when I was playing this game, he was the guy I was asking questions about, and because he read a lot of the books that are like post Return of the Jedi, like he has a whole collection of them.
Yeah.
And so I actually spent like a whole evening just chatting, asking questions about events that happened in Legends that happened after Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got to learn about some high-level events that happened.
Yeah.
My major issue here is that in the Legends, Thrawn comes back and the New Republic is a thing, and they're not a bunch of wusses.
No, they're not.
And and all that, and so it fits, it works, and Yu Zhang eventually invades. The war keeps going. Yeah. Right, but the point is that the war keeps going, and no one demilitarizes or anything like that. My issue in here is that we have, according to the Mandalorian show, there that the New Republic, 5+ years after Return of the Jedi, have already begun decommissioning their fleet, along with the Imperial fleet. And now we're going to have elements of Heir to the Throne to come back.
Yeah.
And the rebellion is like self-imploding, basically, because they're stupid. Yeah. And this all has to happen before episode 7. And episode 7 makes it sound like nothing's happened for a long time. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just not sold on this being a good show, or just even caring, because it feels like it all means for nothing. Because unlike the Legends, where things just kept going, episode 7 is a reset switch for the franchise.
Yeah.
They basically said it all means nothing because episode 7 begins with the Resistance being the new rebellion. Yeah. And the First Order is the new Empire. Mm-hmm. So anything that has to do with the New Republic is pointless. Anything that has to do with the Imperial Remnant is pointless. Yeah. Anything that is not related to the Resistance or the First Order really doesn't matter, because by the time you hit episode 7, None of it matters. And so I'm sitting here going, "What? Who cares?"
Only
They're bringing back Thrawn, but
Yeah.
he's probably going to die or whatever because he can't be around by episode
yeah,
7.
and to be fair, he dies in Legends in the Thrawn trilogy.
Oh, I know he does.
But he comes back as a clone for the duology later on, but that doesn't last long. But
the difference is that
he himself dies in the Heir of the Empire.
Yeah, and I'm aware how he dies, and he dies in a very ironic way.
Mm-hmm. In a very satisfying, good arc for him.
Yeah, I remember someone telling me how it happened. I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. But at the same time, it wasn't all for naught, because shortly after he went down, the Dark Empire started with Return of the Emperor, which, unlike Episode 9, they had a way for him to come back. Unlike Episode 9, where it's just somehow Palpatine returned, right? So, like, this is the problem with Disney's, like, post Return of the Jedi era. There's a lot of just, well, it happened, you know, and there's not any satisfaction for me.
There's a lot of cherry picking, and it's one thing to do it early on in, like, the Clone Wars show, where they do a bunch of retcons and stuff, because there's, like, it basically creates two separate timelines. There's nothing that the show meshes with at all when it comes to original pre-established Clone Wars stuff. But something that fans, also younger fans, like, grew up with, and I understand the love around the show, I just don't see it part of the Legends canon timeline. And but when you get to later stuff, it gets worse, especially after Disney, where they scrapped the EU so they could do their own stuff. And this is like beating a dead horse at this point, but because everyone knows this is what they're doing now, that they just keep cherry picking and recycling things from Legends and doing it differently, and that's not a good thing most of the time. No. Most of the time they trash it, they destroy it, they insert places and characters in it that shouldn't be there. And
they make things worse than they originally were, which is why, you know, I mentioned the quote in one of our reviews about how evil cannot create but only destroy. Ever since Disney's taken over, very little good content has come out for Star Wars, in my opinion. You know, and that's what everyone calls it, evil Disney or evil Kathleen Kennedy, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. And that's why I generally just don't get excited when I see trailers now, because I'm just like, 9 times out of 10, the show is probably going to be garbage. And, you know, sometimes we get good ones, and or I haven't watched it yet. I'll get around to it. Supposedly a really great show. And it's just like, okay, so you're 1 out of the 10 times that it was great. And you know, part of me makes me wonder, is it because there's no anything like Endor that was in the EU, right? So did they have to actually come up with something and be creative for once, and as a result, it was good, versus let's just take something from the EU and do our own version of it, and it ends up just being worse because they didn't really take the time to understand what people liked about Thrawn, or what people really liked about X, or what they really liked about Y. Yeah. Not only does it, that's why I'm like, when I see this trailer, I'm like, there's nothing in here that makes me excited, but there's also in here, I just go, it's going to be a flash in the pan because of the timeline that Disney has created because of Episode 7.
Now, I want to make something clear. You like Dave Filoni. You're a Dave Filoni fan, right?
I like the Clone Wars TV show. Okay, yes.
So you're not a strictly Dave Filoni fanboy.
No, okay. I'm not he can do no wrong. Okay. But I'm also not a hater either. I do like Dave Filoni because I
am a hater. I will own that.
I know you are, and I wish you could actually try to use reason.
There is reason. That's why I hate him.
But the thing is I like how he worked under George Lucas, and I feel like when he's not being pushed in certain directions from above, I think he can create some great content versus, hey, you want to make the Ahsoka show, but you have to have Thrawn in it, and you got to deal with our crappy sequel trilogy, so the events got to mesh up with that. By the way, New Republic sucks, which that's a key part of Thrawn. So can you imagine trying to be somebody that, let's just say anyone, not just Dave Filoni, but hey, make a Thrawn movie, or is this a television show? I don't even know.
This Ahsoka's a show.
I really don't care. Yeah. That's how little I care for this.
We've just been kind of talking in general so far, but
Yeah.
is there anything that kind of sticks out to you in the trailer, or anything you're excited to see? Anything you're like, what's the
Okay, I'll tell you what I am excited to see. The 1 second shot of seeing the back of Admiral Thrawn.
Yeah, I am kind of interested to see how they have him
Live action.
live actions, costumed up, because it's gonna be, as far as I'm aware, it's official that it's gonna be Lars Mikkelsen, the guy.
I don't know who that
is. He voiced him in Rebels.
Oh,
and
okay.
he's also the brother of Mads Mikkelsen.
Still don't know who that is.
Mads Mikkelsen is Jyn Erso's dad, Galen Erso.
Oh, okay.
And he's also...
But I like they're bringing the actual voice actor in.
Yeah.
I wish they could have done that for a certain Grand Inquisitor.
Yeah. Also, I'm interested... People are, like, not really speculating as much as I thought they would be about this dark Jedi-looking chick.
Yeah.
They're more, like, fixated on, oh my gosh, this guy's Dora Sabayoth, or whoever this new dark Jedi dude is. But I have a very, very sickening feeling that this dark Jedi chick...
Is it Ezra?
No, this dark Jedi...
Oh, no.
This dark Jedi
the chick, sorry.
Yeah, the girl, the dark Jedi girl,
is
maybe a Mara Jade-esque character, if not herself.
That was my thought, and I was hoping you were going to say somebody else, but now you say it, I'm going, oh, great.
Yeah.
That might be it then, and I'm kind of with you.
Yeah.
Please don't.
I'm the only one I've seen so far that's come up with that theory. And I'm not saying anyone hasn't. I'm just saying this. I'm the only one that's really voiced that I've seen so far.
So yeah, the only other thing that kind of looks exciting to me in this trailer is that it looks like we might have a potentially capital ship battle in atmosphere. Other than that, nothing in here just makes me go, I have to watch this show. Yeah. Like that's literally how little interested I'm in it. I was never a big fan of the Rebels TV show with the main characters, and this seems to be what they're focusing on, and I'm just like, I really don't care for these people.
I will say the only thing I am kind of excited about is Sabine in live action, because she was my favorite character in Rebels.
Yeah, Sabine was actually pretty cool.
I liked Sabine. I really wish she was in her Mandalorian armor, though. I don't know if she's just in a weird normal flight suit.
I'm like, she spends almost the entirety of that show, I think, in her armor.
Yeah,
and then literally scene for scene, I can't remember if she was wearing her armor at the end of the show, but it looks like the show will start where the animated TV show ends, and she's wearing clothes, and I'm just like, again, these are decisions that bother me.
Yeah.
It's like no one took the time to say, did you even watch the show that you're basing this show off of? Like, hello? So yeah, like, I'm already seeing issues like that, and I'm just...
Also, Hera looks pretty good. I don't know. I'm not sure who's playing her, though.
I was gonna say Hera's probably the only of the original cast that went from animation to live action that actually looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Besides Ahsoka.
Besides Sabine, too. I like Sabine, but she needs her Mandalorian. She definitely needs
I think her hair is like... I think her hair is like really long, but normally she keeps it really short.
Well, it is later. It's supposedly years later since... I don't know. Since Rebels.
Again, I have not rewatched that end scene. If we do watch this show, I will rewatch that end scene just to be like super critical. But normally Sabine kept her hair short, and if you're wearing a helmet that has a vacuum seal, shorter hair works better. Just saying.
Yeah, but I mean, if she's given up that way of life, which she very much could have, it's possible. Because she's not wearing her armor anymore. She's in a flight suit. She's just kind of looking out for Ezra. And they had a thing in the Rebels show, so I would hope that they would continue that Ezra Sabine thing, because also we do get a very short, mind you, a hologram of Ezra in this trailer.
I keep hearing that Ezra's in this trailer, and I can't seem to find it.
He is at 120. He's a hologram, and it's Sabine looking at him. Sabine looking at the hologram of him. So,
that's him.
Yeah, so she's definitely like ruminating about him, really missing him, kind of, I guess.
I remember Sabine kind of growing fond of Ezra. And
Ezra always had a thing for her, so.
Well, and the other thing is also Sabine, he did, and Sabine was like the one that wanted to find him after
Yeah.
the end of the show, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the others, I think, kind of moved on. They accepted that he made the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah. And then it was only like her and Ahsoka that wanted to go after
Right.
him.
And, you know, I kind of wish that's what the show would have gone with, just
Yeah.
them, not the whole cast.
It seems like Sabine wants to find Ezra and Ahsoka wants to find Thrawn. So they're like their goals are mutually
Exactly.
beneficial.
Mutually beneficial because they
Yeah.
both disappeared in the same way.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it's kind of interesting, but I feel like just with what the sequels did with the timeline, I feel like any major events don't. It just doesn't interest me because it all seems for naught.
Yeah.
Unlike Mandalorian, where it's more backstage,
Mhm.
you know, where it's like, yeah, sequels still exist, but we can almost, because we're in the Outer Rim, we can almost forget that they exist, right?
Yeah, and it seems like something completely separate. But
Yeah,
when it comes
in
to
a way.
Ahsoka and the Thrawn stuff, you can't help but think back of how important those storylines were to the original Legends timeline and how that flowed right out of the end of the original trilogy. So it feels like these are important plot points that should have been explored before we got the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, and I will say, if the sequels didn't exist and this came out, I would be way more excited
Me
because I
too.
wouldn't have. I would be like, I don't know what happens.
I
you
would
know,
still hate the fact that they're redoing a type of Heir to the Empire with Dave's characters, but I would be more excited knowing that who knows where it's going to go from here.
exactly. And this goes back to, I think that they don't really understand the character all that well, and because of their butchering of the timeline. And not to mention that I don't think they had Thrawn or any of this stuff in mind when they made that timeline, because if they did, I think they would have made things different. But they kind of hit the reset switch with episode 7, and when they started getting backlash with their trilogy, they started making books and stuff to try to argue why it was that way. And when you do that, it makes it hard to put stories like this in here. So right now, this feels very forced. It doesn't feel like, and that's why I'm not like excited for this. I don't think it's going to be good.
Oh,
I think it's going to feel very forced.
interesting.
And I don't think it will fit.
This is a weird time in Star Wars, guys. I've never would have thought that Kat wouldn't be excited for an Ahsoka or a Dave Filoni show. So I'm surprised.
I'm looking at the whole picture. You know,
Yeah.
I'm still a fan of Dave Filoni, but I think Dave Filoni's being handed a plate with crap on it, basically.
But
And you have to do with what's best you can. And if he doesn't have a New Republic fleet to work with, well, what does he have to work with?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, like, that's kind of my argument here. Yeah, you don't like Ahsoka being put in this. I don't like it either, but I feel like it's because he has no other choice. And that's because of Disney's poor mishandling of this amazing franchise.
Yeah.
And it hurts me dearly to see it mishandled this badly.
I'm hoping that this show maybe isn't going to be as bad as I think, and it's more along the lines of leading up to what is announced now as Dave's movie, that he's going to be like culminating all this stuff, like the Ahsoka show, the Mandalorian, all that stuff, into this movie. That maybe that's going to be our big Heir to the Empire showdown movie, and this show will lead into that.
Maybe.
So.
And obviously, I'll watch it with you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put my expectations at rock bottom. That's what I do with every Disney show now.
Same.
With Star Wars with the label on
Same.
it, because honestly, that's how mishandled this franchise is. I'd rather be pleasantly surprised than constantly disappointed.
That's how I was with Andor, and it was pleasantly surprising. And then I got my hopes a little bit too high for Mando 3 because I knew Mando 1 and 2 were really good. So I'm really disappointed in Mando 3. And that's kind of sad.
I was hoping that Mando being a bit more isolated and out of the franchise, I was thinking that, they got their home runner, right? This will keep them going while they try to figure everything else out. Well, now they've kind of screwed up Mando now. And it makes you wonder who's running the show over there. Like, what the heck are you doing?
Yeah, it's a cluster over there.
And I don't want to turn this into a Kathleen Kennedy hating discussion, but I think at the end of the day, she's the one in charge. And if she's the one making these decisions, or she's just letting these things happen, the buck stops with her, and she needs to go. Is my thought.
For sure. Well, anyway, that'll be it for us on this trailer. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know it's not the opinion I'm sure most of you will have, but it's definitely an interesting discussion. Interesting to see where it goes, and I'm sure we'll watch it.
Yeah, I'll happy be proven wrong, Disney.
Yeah.
Go ahead and try. I'll be happy to be wrong for once.
Yeah. I am not going to say that I have any expectations of ever liking this.
Yeah, I'm not going here. Man, I can't wait for August so I can watch the Ahsoka show.
I can't wait for Ahsoka because I hate Ahsoka's character. But anyway, it is what it is. We'll see how it goes, and I hope you guys join us whenever it comes out to review it. We'll see you next time on another TapCap Chat. I'm Ankin Cassis, and this was Captain. And we'll see
Signing off.
See you next time. Bye.
Later.